Welcome back to another episode of Buffalo Happy Hour. Mike, what's going on, man?
New hat.
Yeah, nice. Where'd you get that from?
A store. So
Nailed it.
walked in. See, they're not a sponsor, so I'm not going to give them a free shout out. It's not how this works. So finishing up some Christmas shopping last minute, and then saw it on the shelf, and I was like, well, gotta buy it. So purchased the hat, folded it myself, and rocking it. So nice Buffalo hat.
You didn't sell. We won the AFC Championship. Whoop, whoop.
Yes, we did.
That was kind of dope.
A little bit.
So did you order an AFC Championship hat or no?
Not even available.
No.
Every website is unavailable.
It was funny because one of your, our biggest inside jokes is I send you something that I want, and then you say, dude, we do not need that. And then I go, all right, it'll be here Wednesday. Don't worry about it. Well, I did that same thing to Gina. We're sitting on the couch and we're watching the Bills game, and it just finished. We were just named the AFC champs. And no joke, 5 minutes later, she's like, are you going to order one of those AFC champs hat? I'm like, don't worry about it. It's already on the way. It'll be here January 14th. I'm so stoked that I got one of those.
Yeah.
Because, people, I think we talked about this before. I have a championship hat for the Bruins whenever they clinch their division or win the cup or anything like that. So I thought, why not? Keep that collection going.
They'll be back in stock. It's just going to be months.
Yeah. Before we dive into even more Bills talk, though, because we got a lot to talk about, including the rest of the year and the possibilities that are going to happen. If you're new here, welcome. We are the Buffalo Happy Hour podcast. We like to give our platform to businesses for a free way for them to promote. So it's a cool interactive show. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. We'd greatly appreciate it. And if you're not new here and you're still not subscribed, please press that subscribe button below, click that like button, and leave a comment, because we appreciate all the support, and we have a ton of stuff coming for you throughout the rest of this year and into next year too. So we're going to be busy.
Yeah, man.
So about the Bills, we just beat the Broncos. Was there even any doubt in your mind that we weren't going to win that game?
No, I knew we were going to win. I just didn't expect that big of a gap between the teams. They had a poor performance on all three sides of the ball. So it was in our favor. It just bothers me that it wasn't 60 points on the board because red zone penalties and garbage. But yeah, it's fine. I think the other thing that's really frustrating is that this will air in 2 weeks, and there's been so much progress since the Broncos game, and we're not there yet because we can't read the future. So it bothers me every week.
Okay, so talking about reading the future, what are your call? I know that you like to guess the score of the game the day of. I'm not going to ask you to predict scores right here.
Good.
But what do you think? What are the Bills' objectives for these next 2 weeks?
Win.
Okay, but
I'm not talking about we're going to sit starter. Like, we are going to play everybody. We're not going to rest.
You think?
Yeah, we're going to keep
for the full games.
100%. Well, depending on the score. If it's a blowout, then they'll probably throw in, like they did last week. They took Edmonds out. We played second-string guys, third-string guys on defense, and then they ended up walking down the field and getting a touchdown, but who cares? I think that would be the move. Like, win the next 2 games, push to get the 2 seed, better your chances in the playoffs, and then rest the guys, at the halfway point if we crush them first half and we don't need to be on.
There's a couple people that are upset that we didn't take the starters out sooner, because you saw Diggs get carted to the locker room. You saw Trey White go down. You saw these players starting to get hurt, and it's like, all right, well.
They weren't hurt, though.
They technically were. Diggs got carted into the locker room. We still don't know officially what happened.
He didn't want to walk.
Is that the actual report that came out?
Basically.
Well, you're assuming, right?
Well, no, that's literally what everyone's saying right now.
Oh,
like,
really?
he just wanted to ride. And they're like, he's like, nah. Like, like, he's got 150 receiving yards that game. It's like, I don't want to walk.
I'm done walking for today.
And I'm like, shit, I would too. Who cares?
What a baller move.
Yeah, but that's what they're saying. So I don't know if that's their cover story for something like, I don't know, maybe he had a hot spot. Maybe it was a blister or minor turf toe or who knows. But I can tell you something that is most likely going to happen is in the playoffs, he's not going to miss a game.
Right.
And I just, and going into the coming weeks, we have Smoke back. So that'll be huge for the offense because now the defenses they have no chance. Like, what are you going to do? So I'm excited to see it. But yeah, I'm pumped, dude. I'm ready for the playoffs.
Well, next week, too, we play New England, and Gilmore's out for the year now. He has to have surgery on his knee, so he's out for the rest of the year.
He sucks anyways, dude. He wasn't going to do anything against our wide receivers.
All right, Gilmore's like one of the top 4 cornerbacks in the league.
He's garbage.
I don't like him at all.
He's garbage.
I get that. I do not like him at all, 100%. But he is a decent cornerback. Like, top 4, you have him, Gilmore, Trey White, Ramsey, and then who's that other dude? Peters, right?
Yeah. There's also guys that they play corner, but they're not technically a corner. They're other position, like Humphreys on or Humphrey on the Ravens. He's a stud. Yeah. Adams is decent in coverage for the Seahawks, but you also have Sherman, and then the secondary for the Cards isn't bad either. But Gilmore gets burned every single game, and they never talk about it. But he gets burned
because they're the Patriots. Did you watch their game?
Yeah.
Did you see that it clearly was not a first down? It was like 2 inches before the first down mark, and they're like, "No, we're good. Give him the first down."
Yeah.
Like, Brady's not there anymore. What are you doing?
Yep.
But ideally, in your perfect world, who would you like to face in the first round?
You go first.
So right now it's between.
I don't want to play the Colts, dude.
Yeah, right now it's the Colts, Miami, Ravens, or
Miami's not going to be there though. I don't think they're going to be there.
I don't know. And then the Browns, right? Mm-hmm. So out of
and
those,
obviously the Chiefs, but they're the 1 seed.
Yeah, and then you have the Titans are in, and you have the Steelers too. But I'm talking like the first round of the playoffs.
Yep.
I don't want to play the Ravens just because I hate them. I feel like they could beat us because of their high schoolyard shit. Not a fan of it. And I do not want to play the Titans because I hate and love Derrick Henry. He is the best running back in the entire league.
He's a freight train.
He's disgustingly hard to stop. So if it was up to me, I would rather probably play either Miami or the Browns because Baker Mayfield is hit or miss, especially if you get him in a good defense. He can miss a lot of the times.
He's very hot right now, but I don't think he would play well against our defense.
No.
But I agree. I definitely don't want to play the Colts. They're an extremely hot team. Baker Mayfield is on a hot streak, but I don't think that they stand a chance, like I just said, against our defense. And then I really don't want to play Titans, dude.
Yeah, no,
I just really don't want to play Titans.
In Miami, I feel like they're kind of like the Steelers were a couple weeks ago. They're a little bit overrated. They have a really hot defense, but Tua's not like shattering the world.
No.
And they have 0 running backs. They have like their 3rd and 4th string that are putting up 100 yards for sure, but they have 0 receivers either.
Their tight ends are their game. So if we shut their tight ends down, then they pretty much don't have any wideouts.
And that's why I kind of hope that right now we stay the 3rd seed because if we do, we're scheduled to play Miami. Is that correct? Oh, and I don't want to play the Colts because Jonathan Taylor is a freak.
The Colts are a really sound football team,
Yeah.
and they put up like 45 points a game.
I don't like Phillip Rivers. I think that he's not a very good quarterback.
It's Frank Wright, man. He's a genius.
Yeah. So I would rather play Miami first round, and I just want to get past that first round, dude. If we get past that first round, I will be fine.
I don't care if we lose the second playoff game. I don't. We won the division. We won a playoff game. Both monkeys are off our back. We can focus. I understand the team has very serious objectives, but my only goal going into this season was win a playoff game. Mm-hmm. That was it. I didn't care about winning the division. That was gravy. But winning a playoff game is going to just make me feel so much better.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
It'll be interesting. I'm excited for it, and we'll see how these next 2 games play out. But I think that we'll beat the Pats. We'll beat the
We're going to win out.
Dolphins,
I think we're going to be 13-3, but
and I just hope the Steelers lose. Who are they playing?
They're playing the Bengals tonight, and the Bengals are 2-10.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Steelers are going to lose that game.
The Jets just beat the Rams, dude. That is insane.
Yeah,
How does that even happen?
It's every given Sunday, man. Anything can happen. It's the NFL.
They're all professional football players. So.
Yeah, you're playing the top 1% to ever play the game.
1%.
1%. But yeah, outside of the Bills, what'd you do this week?
We had a early Christmas party with Gina's side of the family. It was nice. We went over to her aunt's house, and it was sweet. Like, her house was... You know how everyone wants open concept now? Like, that's the whole thing with houses. Their house was so fragmented that it was cool because they treated each room like a new food area.
Nice.
So, like, one room they had chips, dip, pretzels, and all that stuff. Then you went into the kitchen, and there was, like, sushi, shrimp, like, little cooked mashed potatoes that are filled with twice baked, but they're Like you can just pop them in your mouth. It was so nice. Then you go in the living room. There was like a cheese station. It was different. It was a cool type of party because you weren't stuck in one spot. And I think that's something that you can do with a place that is a little bit more fragmented than just the open concept. So we did that. We did a little gift exchange. I got another bottle of Buffalo Trace.
Nice.
Which is prime. Thank you, Nikki, if you're listening. That was fantastic. And I love Buffalo Trace so much. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was just a good time. I mean, they do the Secret Santa thing every year. So you pick a name and then you have the whole year to think about it. And then the last second before the party, you got to go out and get something. How are you when it comes to Christmas gifts? Do you go out really early to get stuff, or are you more of a procrastinator?
I don't necessarily procrastinate, but I'm not super early about it either. My goal is to start like 3 months into the year, and it never happens, but that's my goal. That's what I want.
Yeah.
So like March, I want to start Christmas shopping for the next Christmas.
But the thing is it's hard because if I'm trying to get you something or you're trying to get me something, you and I are impulse buyers anyway. Come on.
We're impulse buyers when it comes to, I can make this extra credit card payment and pay this thing down. Then we're impulse.
But we're also impulse buyers in the other sense as well. So
no, I am nowhere near you. I am literally nowhere near you.
Yeah. So let's put the tables back on me. The majority of Americans, let's say that. So if you want to buy something for me in March, there's like a 99.9% chance that I will probably buy that for myself the other 9 months of the year.
We'll see.
Oh, brother.
I'm creative.
Jesus Christ.
You're easy to shop for. Dude,
I know.
The one year I got you a clock, and you're like, I didn't even think to get this. Like, yeah, I know.
Well, I am easy to shop for because I'm always saying I could really use this.
Yeah, you never shut up.
Yeah, I know.
Loose lips sink ships. You're out there spewing.
I mean, you're not wrong. I say that I need stuff all the time. And any person in their right mind that knows me personally knows what to get me because I want everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not shy about saying that. Not like, hey, get me this. It's more of a, oh, I really wish I had shelves here. And then, bam, next day, shelves.
Right.
It's like, all right, chill. Mm-hmm. I'm venting.
Which, you know,
yeah,
sometimes you got
That's
to.
how you got to do it. So what about you? How was your week?
Good. We did the Kelly Christmas. So my dad and stepmom came over, and my sister and her husband came over. So we hung out, exchanged gifts, had a nice spread. I made my cinnamon buns. So I woke up at 7:30, and I was in the baking process by 8. So made my cinnamon buns.
What was the best gift you've ever gotten? Like even going all the way back to childhood. Like, do you have a gift that you remember getting and you're just like, never expected that?
The propane fireplace is up there. There's...
Oh, that was recent, right?
Yep. Cell phone, because I changed my entire life where I was able to actually just text all the ladies. Just kidding. It was like 3 dudes. And I have to get back. I don't know. Ask me next week when we record because I'm going to get more gifts.
Yeah.
Because we are recording pre-Christmas, so I don't know what's going to happen this year.
Yeah, I just remember this so vividly. When I was younger, the biggest thing that we wanted was a computer. I wanted a computer so bad.
Because you fried the old one?
No, this was before like computers even were existent. And I'm like, man, we could really use a computer. And my mom's like, it's just not in the budget. Can't do it. I'm sorry. We just can't do it. And then we finished opening our Christmas gifts and we didn't get a computer. And Jill, my sister and I were like, that's fine. I mean, we don't need one. No, Mom, I'm pretty sure this was her words. She was like, my nose is getting a little stuffy. Can you go into my bathroom and grab my tissues for me? And my sister and I both went, and the computer was in her bathroom. So she like saved that for us, and like this was her big reveal. It was like, go get the tissues. And then we saw the Dell box, and we're like, oh yes, super stoked because that's hard to wrap. So that was probably one of like my most memorable Christmas gifts. I didn't come down the stairs and have a bike there, not that I remember. Like the picturesque boy Christmas is you run down the stairs and there's your bike with the training wheels on it. And you're like, oh my God, yes. I don't remember that moment.
Mm-hmm. My first bike, like legit bike, was on my birthday and I flipped out. So
yeah.
that was a good time.
When you were growing up, did you have the Christmas tree in the same spot every year? Or did
yeah. No, it had to. Because we always got a real tree and it wouldn't fit anywhere else in the room. One year it actually tipped over and all the water warped the floor because we had floor, like it was hardwood.
Yeah.
And then the tree tipped over. So the water stand just gushed water all over the place, so the carpet was soaked. And then after it dried, we lifted the carpet up, and then it warped up. Oh, it was a zoo. It was a zoo, dude. Ornaments were shattered all over the place. Yeah, it was bad. Of course, the kids got blamed for it, and we're just like, it was gravity. Like,
Obviously.
Yeah. But
we had it in the kitchen like in our dining room kitchen. That's where we had it for a very long time. Probably like the first 7 years of my life. And then we transitioned it into the living room because it just made sense.
It doesn't belong. Yes.
Right?
Yes, it makes sense to be in the living room.
Where is your tree now?
My living room.
Okay, perfect.
It's normal.
I don't know. Yours could be nice in your dining room area, though.
No.
But your table's too
Yeah,
big.
what are we going to do?
Yeah.
No.
Bring the table in the living room. Just have a big conglomeration of people in the living room. Couches and on tables.
That's crazy.
There you go.
Too much.
But yeah, so I'm sorry. Did you want to add anything else with the Kelly Christmas?
No. I got some nice gifts. So just like tools and socket sets.
Cool. What'd you ask for Santa this year?
Tools. And then I did ask. Here's the thing. I got a full-time job. We do this. There's really no time at all for video games, but I did ask for the new Assassin's Creed.
Oh, yeah?
So I'll let you know if I ever get it.
See, okay.
But that was it.
We might have talked about this before, but when you say, this is going to be a very long episode, but when you say that...
This is what I was afraid of.
Yeah, I know. Cheers. When you... When you say you don't have time for video games, how much TV do you watch?
I really don't. That's the thing. Like, the time that I budget for TV would be the time that I would budget to play a game.
Right.
And I watch shows with Colleen. So, after dinner, I'm like, well, let's watch a episode and then we'll go to sleep. Because I had to get up and crush it in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then that's it. So I don't have time to sit there and go play live with the boys for 4 hours. Like, it's not in the cards. Mm-hmm. I'm sleeping by 9. So, and that would be the time to play. So I'm like, I'm going to sleep now. Like, I'm tired. Or I'd rather go walk Sam or go hike with Sam in the woods. Like, I don't want to sit in front of a TV and play a game. Like, It's just not. Well, I'm over it.
You're different though, because you would rather sit in front. You wouldn't rather sit in front of a TV than go walking with Sam, regardless of what you're doing, whether it's watching TV or playing video games. And I think we talked about this before. And just if you are going to sit in front and watch the same episode of The Office that you've watched 356 times, or you can play a game where you're actually involved and like having fun instead of reciting the lines back to yourself, video games aren't as unnecessary as people think. Especially because we have a huge culture that thrives off of let's binge watch the same show that I've been watching for the past 4 years.
And that's I don't.
Right. Sure. So you're the anomaly in this situation.
Absolutely. Because I don't rewatch Parks and Rec. That's like it's tough for me to recite lines because I'm like, I've watched that episode like maybe twice.
Right.
And that's it. So I marathon the show, I crush it, and then I just move on to the next. And the other thing too is there's stuff to do at my house that I'd rather work on. Like there's projects. So I'd rather spend time working on that than, I don't know, playing COD.
Sure.
So that's all.
Makes sense.
We got the aliens coming down the street.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph. All right, you want to so anything else for the whiskey or the weekly recap section, or should we jump into this extremely long whiskey section?
Yeah, we should jump into it, but quick, just so everyone knows, if you hear anything in the background, they are doing legitimate road construction outside, and it's super loud. So that's what I meant by the aliens are coming. Yeah. But all right, let's dive into whiskey section.
All right, Michael, so what do we have in front of us today?
One of your favorites. We'll start there. But it's Laphroaig Select 80 Proof.
I'm impressed. Did you look up the pronunciation of that beforehand?
No, I listened to you. Okay. Sometimes I do listen to you speak. Not all the time.
This is a very, very difficult Scotch to pronounce.
Yeah.
Lagavulin is like you can sound it out.
Right.
Ardbeg, you can basically sound it out. There's a handful of them, like Brookladdock, Glenfiddich, Laphroaig. They're all, I put the Scottish accent on it because I am from Scotland, nay Italy. So, okay, so yes, Laphroaig Select.
Yes. It comes in a green bottle. We'll get to it. calm down.
Green bottles matter.
But we'll dive into the company background first. They started in 1815, so clearly there's things to discuss. Here's an overview summary that I found online that basically taps into all things that you need to know. In 1815, Donald and Alexander Johnson began leasing nearly 1,000 acres of land on the island of Isla. So the S is silent.
Yep.
Perfect.
And the Y, basically.
Yeah, it's like a use, whatever.
And that's another thing people always mispronounce. It's not Islay or Islay. It's Isla.
Isla. So their intent was to use the land to raise and sell cattle, and as a result, they began growing barley to be used as feed for their livestock. However, when they had a bountiful harvest, the brothers distilled their excess grains into whiskey, and without the E, and sold it to the inhabitants of the island. Soon thereafter, the brothers found it more profitable to distill whiskey rather than raise cattle, and Lefroy Distillery was born. For over a century, the distillery would remain in the hands of one of Johnson's descendants. In 1954, however, Ian Hunter passed away, childless, and bequeathed the distillery.
Bequeathed, like gave.
Yeah, he gave it to Bessie Williamson, who was a secretary that had been working at the distillery for 20 years. Hunter was incredibly protective of the distillery. While he slowly revealed its secrets to Williamson after she had earned his trust, Hunter prevented a cooper who was employed at the distillery from publishing his memoirs because they described the workings of the distillery in too great of a detail. But during Prohibition, it was one of the few whiskeys still legally imported into the U.S., as it was considered a medicinal spirit. Lefroy single malt is made from the finest Scottish barley, which is then malted at the distillery and smoked over a peat flame. Lovely. Unlike other distilleries which source peat from the Scottish mainland, the peat used to smoke Lefroy barley is made from the heather, mosses, and lichens of Islay, and adds a distinct iodine-like flavor to the whiskey. Again, wonderful. After the barley has been malted and peated, it is fermented before being twice distilled through Lefroy's copper pot stills. The unique stills have a usually flat base and flat surfaces, which contribute to the overall intensity of the whiskey. Following distillation, you're going to love this, Lefroy select Isla, nail it. Isla single malt Scotch whiskey is matured in 5 different types of casks: Oloroso Sherry, White American Oak, Pedro Ex Eminence, quarter-sized, and first-filled bourbon. After the whiskey's been matured, it is finished in a Virgin American Oak cask, which is a type of wood rarely used in the Scotch whiskey industry. During its time in those Virgin American Oak casks, the whiskies rested in the highest, warmest reaches of Lefroy's warehouse, which increases the exposure of the whiskey to the wood. Which brings in all the different tasting notes that we can dive into. But there's a lot of history here, and essentially whiskey matters because it is more profitable than raising cattle.
100%. And they still, to this day, use what's left over from the malted barley and bring it back to the farms for them to feed their cattle. So they're not completely getting rid of all the cattle. They're still helping the cattle, but making the whiskey also and making it a forefront. So the Select Lefroy, it is an unaged product. It doesn't have an age statement on it. That's what unaged means. And it is a very interesting and dynamic taste. You yourself are going to pick up a lot of the peat because you don't like peated Scotch. Yeah. So there's a lot of intricacies within the actual whiskey, but we'll get to that first. So if you want to ever learn about Scotch, go to Lefroy's website. They have a series around how like a distillery tour of theirs and how to make it. It is fascinating.
Yeah, basically take vegetation and start it on fire.
So yeah, basically. So oh god, this could be very, very long. So let's start back at the beginning.
Perfect.
Okay.
Doesn't sound short at all.
I was born. No. Further back than that, actually. So the difference between Scotch and regular bourbon. We are going to have a segment on this in the future because there's a lot of people that don't know the difference between Scotch, bourbon, whiskey, Irish whiskey, American New York State rye, and all that stuff. And the reason that we brought this on the show today was because there was a recent Joe Rogan episode where he was interviewing Richard Rawlings. What his name is? Why can't I remember his name?
The guy that was on the Discovery Channel with his own show where he fixed up cars. And this was given to Joe Rogan by the astronaut.
Correct. So, yeah, Richard Rawlings. So, Joe Rogan pulled out Lafroig, and he's like, I have no idea what this is. I just know that Terry Virts gave it to me. So, we thought that it would be a good idea to bring it out and explain it a little bit more. But basically, in short, because we are going to have an episode on the differences between them in the future, but in short, Scotch can only be made in Scotland. And the 3 ingredients you need for Scotch are malted barley, water, and yeast. That's it. So there's no wheat, there's no rye, there's no corn, there's no nothing. It's literally just malted barley, water, and yeast. So that plays important when you get to the actual history of Lafroig. So they are around a stream called the Kilbride Stream, which the stream itself, they took a little sample of it and they showed it up to the camera. And the water in the stream was murky and gross. But it's because it already has peat moss in it.
Perfect.
So we literally can go on for hours on this. And I'm so juiced to talk about it, but we just do not have the time in an hour episode.
I know.
So basically, they take this water. 15% of the taste of Lafroig is coming from the water directly. So basically what they do is they have that water separately, and then they get peat moss. So peat moss is basically the dirt underneath the grains that are growing there. So they have a process where you're basically digging with a shovel, and the shovel is designed to bring up a brick of peat moss, and it comes out in a perfect rectangle. That peat moss is then burned to dry out the malted barley. When they pick the barley itself, they pick it, they put it into a, what the hell is it called? They steep the barley and put it through 3 periods of wetting over 2 days to trick the barley into thinking it's springtime again, to get it ready for the germination process. So when they have the barley itself, it's dead for the most part because it's picked, but then they put it through this wetting process to make it sprout the grains again, which that part gets you into the germination process, which is the barley allows it to start growing the root inside the grain to create enzymes into the starches, which turn into soluble starches once hot water is added within the mash house. So once these are wet and fermented or germinated or whatever, they are then put into a kiln. And a kiln is basically, they have this big room, and they put all of this freshly malted barley 15 inches deep into this room, and then underneath the room is a fire that they start by burning the moss. So that's where you're getting all that moss peaty flavor that is coming up by burning that and just drenching that entire room of the malted barley. It's crazy.
So they make a massive oven.
Correct. Most distilleries in Scotland peat and dry at the same time, but Lafroig peats and then dries after that, which is very, very distinct for Lafroig. So the mash house, they mix the grinded barley with water from the Kilbride steam and within the lauter tun. It needs to be about 63.5 degrees Celsius, and then they transfer it to the vessels, then rinse out the mash tun with more water that gets eventually recycled back into the next batch. It's very intricate. So the still house uses wash stills and copper stills for their whiskey, and this is where a little chemistry comes in. So the wash still gets the mash boiling, then the steam and the foam are simmered back into the overall vapor, transferred to the copper stills for a chemical reaction to take place. That's why copper stills are so important, because it creates a chemical reaction within the vapors that are in there, which changes the makeup completely of the vapors through the maturation stage. And then acid reflux, just kidding, it's not acid reflux, it's regular reflux, happens when you have too many vapors trying to exit the neck of the still at once. So Lafroig dialed that back a little bit so that reflux doesn't happen, but they added this process called the line arms, which is very unique to Lafroig, which basically extends that neck so you don't have to push as much out, but it's still going out and hitting all that copper. It's turned back into the liquid after the first distillation called the low lines, and that's about 35% alcohol. So a second distillation is then split into the 4 shots, the spirit runs, and the feints. The 4 shots equal the heads, the spirit run equal the hearts, and the feints equal the tails. You've heard of the heads, hearts, and tails, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have the longest foreshot also. They run the whiskey, basically open the valve for the whiskey, and they run it for 45 minutes before they end up collecting their actual whiskey. So just imagine turning on the faucet and waiting 45 minutes before you start drinking your water. That's what they do. But they're not wasting any of that. So they're taking all of those foreshots and putting them back into the mix and then basically redoing the process with that. Yeah, crazy. So instead of doing a double distillation process, they take the saved 25,000 liters of low wines, foreshots, and fames, and then run the big still and balance over the other fermentation vessels. So the last part that I would like to talk about is the maturation process, which is the big sleep, they call it. So they have huge warehouses next to the Atlantic Ocean, and there's a large change in weather conditions, obviously, because it's right next to the ocean, causing the casks to expand and contract, causing the liquid to be absorbed into the casks and then extracted, pulling those flavors directly from the casks. So that expansion is obviously changing the flavors quite a bit as well. Laphroaig also has quarter casks, which are used bourbon barrels. I believe the guy, his name was John Campbell, stated that they're ex-Maker's Mark barrels, which is interesting. So they're used bourbon barrels previously aged between 5 to 11 years, mixed together, and then double matured within the casks, called quarter casks because it's a quarter of a sherry butt. They're the size because they're easier to lift onto a horse when they were first used 125 years ago. So they're very small, and they're longer, so you and I can pick them up. And the other interesting fact is they lose about 25% to angel share. 25% of their whiskey to angel share. 5 more than mainland Scotland. So that's really it in a nutshell. It's a very, very intricate process. It is, like I said, if you're really interested in getting more in-depth on the actual Laphroaig process itself, go to laphroaig.com and go to their videos, because that John guy, I forgot his name again, but that John guy, he goes through the entire process, John Campbell, of this start to finish from Laphroaig, how they differ from other Islay whiskeys, and what makes them special. Super interesting.
So should we rate this thing?
Let's do it.
All right. Label branding.
Yeah, so we're not doing a cocktail section, obvi. I am a big proponent, before we get into the whiskey rating section, so we'll have to do that drop again, but I just want to say we're not doing a cocktail section because I'm a big proponent of having Scotch neat. I've only had one cocktail with Scotch, and that was the penicillin, and I've already recommended that. Don't put anything in here.
No, if anything, just an ice cube.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, so let's get to the whiskey rating section. Let's do it.
Oh my God. All right. Label branding. Green bottle. So you're obviously going to you're going to force me to drink this. Mm-hmm. You're going to obviously give this the highest rating possible because it's a green bottle. Would you relax?
Yes, correct. And this is what I was talking about last week with the Devil's River, or 2 weeks ago with the Devil's River.
Sorry, my tinnitus kicked in. All I heard was beeps. What?
Nice. This bottle shape should be saved for Scotch because it fits nicely in that container. It fits nicely in the boxes and all of that sort of stuff. I don't like it when bourbon has that same bottle shape. I feel like this should be saved for Scotch. That's what I was getting at when I said I like the way Devil's River looks.
Gotcha. All right. So they have the Celtic knot under select, which that makes me happy inside.
Do you know what that means? Or do you know what that is?
What, the knot?
Celtic knot, yeah.
No. On their logo? No, I just know it's Celtic.
I don't know what it means. That's why I was asking you.
Google it. See what they say. So it says, by appointment to HRH, the Prince of Wales, distiller and supplier of single malt Scotch whiskey, D. Johnson & Co., Laphroaig, Islay of... I'm sorry.
You're right.
Okay. Isle of...
Isla. Try saying that 10 times fast.
Yeah, seriously.
Isle of Isla.
Yeah.
There's a ton of different meaning for Celtic knot, so we're not going to get into that.
Well, of course, but like they're specific. I couldn't tell you.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah. So that obviously established 1850, and I'm going to go A++.
I'm gonna go A plus check mark because
Here we go.
because we got the little marketing material attached to it. You got the vessel the packaging that it comes in.
That's true.
You gotta incorporate that a little bit, bro.
All right. A plus check mark.
Nailed it.
Nose. Here we go. Torture myself. So for those that don't know and that are new, I always razz him about Scotch. I'm not a huge Scotch fan. I appreciate Scotch, but the peatier it is, I'm not fully there yet. So I'm working up to it.
Yeah,
but
you're getting there though.
Neanderthal over there is just like, let me just eat it raw.
Hell yeah.
Don't even make it a liquid. I'll just eat earth. It's fine.
So Islay Scotch is known for, especially when you compare it to mainland Scotch, like the Speyside and all that stuff, you get a drastically different flavor and nose when it comes to the moss. So you have two real main different types of moss. You have this earthy, peaty, like fresh green type of moss, and then you get very wood dense and smoky moss. So with it being an Islay Scotch, you're getting more of that earthy and kind of like a fungi type of smell to it.
Yeah, but it's sweeter. Mm-hmm. It's like tartier almost. So peat's obvious.
Mm-hmm. Right up front, and I don't know if you'll be able to get this, but it's a vanilla. So it hits you really, really, really early with the vanilla, which might be overpowered with your peat because you aren't as familiar with Scotch.
I don't get that. I'm getting like fruit.
Yeah, you get good, very good. There is an underlying fruit there. It's like this dried, light, it's like a dried almost, I can't picture the actual fruit though, but underneath that peat, there's a little bit of a dried fruit there.
Lemon.
Hold on, are we still on nose? Yeah, we're still on nose. So let's go.
Yeah, we are. So I'm going to go A.
Okay, A. I'll do it. I agree.
Agree. Initial taste. I'm still going lemon. Peat. Mother Earth. It's just very... Listen, if you're going to drink this, don't even think about getting near a car because the cop will smell you before he even exits his own car.
100%.
This is just like in your face, traveling through your sinus cavity, owns your soul, and makes you feel like you're 65 sitting in a study. What the hell did you do to me?
It's so great because I love watching your reaction to drinking this stuff. So, all right, on the taste, you're getting a little bit of vanilla also. And then that's going down with the mixture of that dried fruit and peat again.
Yeah, there's some oak.
Yeah. And then
Obviously.
It's leaving kind of like a sea salt type.
Yeah, I'm picking that up. And that's kind of making it bearable to where, like, for beginners, bearable. Where you're like, I want more of it because it's got that sweet note on the end. But there's still some baking spice, some oak. You're getting a little bit of the honey. I'm still getting lemon, though.
Yeah, I can see that. A lemon or like a dried citrus.
Yeah. Like a variant between the two. It's kind of, I don't know, it's strange, different. I'm going to go A.
I'll go A plus. So,
all right, A check mark.
A check mark? I don't even know if that's a compromise anymore. We use it so much. Okay, so ending note. What are you getting on the end?
Just that salt. That's pretty much the only thing that kind of sticks through it. Everything else lingers away. And then it's honestly a pleasant aftertaste. Mm-hmm. It's really not that bad at all. But it's here, man. It's here for you.
Yeah.
It's not going away.
What's interesting about this particular Lafroig is that, or Lafroig in general, is people hear that peat and they immediately think super, super heavy.
No, it's light,
like
though.
Ardbeg. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a huge debate in the Scotch world about like which one's better. I was watching a video on it, and it's basically you have these three main staples. You have Lafroig, Ardbeg, and then you have Lagavulin is kind of like the father making sure that the kids play along.
Yeah.
Lafroig is a very friendly, peaty. It's very, very peaty, but it's light. Ardbeg is the opposite. Ardbeg is still peaty, but it feels very, very heavy.
And this is 80 proof. Mm-hmm. This is something you just want with a cigar after a hearty meal.
Yeah.
Like you just got done eating with Teddy Roosevelt kind of meal.
Really? So I associate this scotch with more of a summer day. And it being I don't think of it as an after meal because it's so light.
See, this is the difference. This is where we split. This is the fork in the road. Dude, it's like 80 degrees out. I'm going to sit here and drink scotch. I have to muster enough courage to open the bottle, look at the bottle, let alone open it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what it is outside. I need to eat some serious meat, like Bambi's mom, and then crush this thing over a cigar and ice and time and appreciate it because I can't drink this like I can bourbon.
One thing, though, this is 0 burn.
If I had to equate it to a percentage out of 100, it's like a 6% burn.
Mm-hmm. There's 0 burn. It's a very high hug, if anything. It doesn't get you down in the throat. This is a very, very easy scotch to drink.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of scotches out there that aren't like this. This is a very, very simple one, and it's very delicious, in my opinion, because it gives you that peaty taste to it, but doesn't leave you feeling like you want to pass out because you just consumed your whole body weight in steak.
Yeah,
like,
me too then. Yeah, I'm totally on the same page then.
All right, so ending note, you're getting a little bit of that sea salt, a little more of that lemon at the end.
Yeah, I'm going to go A.
A check mark then, because I think it's an A+.
Final rating. Here we go. Give me that countdown.
1,456. All right. 3, 2, 1. 94.
88, 94. Math. It's like, what, 92?
Close. Lower.
91.
Good.
Shut up, Derek.
So this was our whiskey rating for Lefroy Select. Go pick up a bottle of this because if you want an entry level scotch, or if you're I shouldn't say entry level. If you are an experienced scotch drinker that likes the peated taste to it, and you want to try something even more peated, but isn't overwhelming, go for Lefroy Select. Some of their other ones are a little bit more heavier on the peat, but this one in particular has a very light note to it. And I truly, truly enjoy this scotch. Overall, what are your thoughts overall?
I'm ready for a nap. I feel like I just gained 5 years of my life. It's honestly not bad, but if you're brand new to scotch, you definitely want to crush this thing with an ice cube, simmer it down a little bit, and then slowly sip. Remember, we're not taking normal sips; we're taking sippy sips. Put on the sippy cup top. Take your time with it. It's okay to let it sit for a while in the glass. This is something you enjoy over a long conversation. So solve the world problems. Go from there.
Yeah, honestly, if you were to put an ice cube in this, I have a feeling the peat would come out even more. So I'm not 100% sure ice cube is your way to go.
So far, scotch and ice with me are friends.
Really?
Yeah, it's incredible. But I had 2 different Macallan 12s, so that's why. And then I was treated to a taste of Johnny Blue Label, and it's got some peat to it too.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll have him on eventually when we're like
Johnny Blue Label himself.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll figure
Have
that out.
the man, the myth, the legend. He's still alive.
I don't know. Ask Google. That's a crazy question.
Google. Alex says he's still alive.
I know.
Just kidding. We don't have smart houses here. Russia. All right. So let's get into the segment miniseries section. All right. So we are here on the segment miniseries section. And we've already talked about this. This is our second segment miniseries where we talk about the people of Buffalo and how it impacted the city. The first segment miniseries we had was the history of Buffalo, which covered some of these people. But now we're going to get into a little bit more depth on who those people were and how they impacted the area. So last week's episode, we talked about none other than the man himself, Stephen Cleveland, which I'm still shocked about.
Yeah, so Grover Cleveland's first name is really Stephen.
I don't like that.
Which we learned But for those of you that are still with us, we appreciate it. This is actually now day 2 of filming because this is the longest episode in the history of the world.
Correct. And it's not going to get any shorter, people.
So now for episode 2, we're going to talk about Frederick Law Olmsted.
All right. So there's a lot of information here. So I'll do my best to summarize, because this can be 14 hours long. Basically, what you need to know is that he was an architect and he designed most of the parks in the area.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. This has been... No, just kidding. So he was born in April 26th of 1822, and he was an American landscape architect, journalist, social critic, and public administrator. He was popularly considered to be the father of American landscape architecture. Olmsted was famous for co-designing many well-known urban parks with his senior partner, Calvert Vaux. One of Olmsted's early works included designing the Walnut Hill Park in New Britain, Connecticut. His later efforts included Central Park and Prospect Park in New York City, as well as Cadwallader Park in Trenton, New Jersey. Other projects that Olmsted was involved in include the country's first and oldest coordinated systems of public parks and parkways within none other than Buffalo, New York. The country's oldest state park, Niagara River Reservation in Niagara Falls, New York, one of the first planned communities in the United States. So he had quite an impact on the Buffalo area after designing New York Central Park and the Prospect Park.
So I didn't know any of this. This is actually pretty interesting. The young Olmsted was almost ready to enter Yale. The boy was going to Yale, but he got sumac poisoning, and that weakened his eyes. So he gave up his college plans, which that's funny because I also had sumac poisoning and my eyes were fine. But anyways.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had sumac, poison oak, and poison ivy all at the same time. Never go to Louisiana.
What is sumac?
Sumac is it's another poisonous leaf that basically just ruins your soul.
So you're basically telling me that he was a loser and he couldn't handle the sumac.
Basically.
Nailed it.
So after working as an apprentice, as a seaman, a merchant, and journalist, Olmsted settled on a 125-acre farm in January 1848 on the south shore of Staten Island, New York, by Bobby Boardshorts on Oyster Bay. It was a farm which his father helped him acquire. The farm, originally named the Ackerley Homestead, was renamed Tossamock Farm by Olmsted. It was later renamed the Woods of Arden by owner Oratus Weeman.
It sounds like a metal song.
Yeah,
this is the Woods of Arden.
Probably sung by
Avenged Sevenfold?
No, Amon Amarth. So the house in which Olmsted lived still stands at 4515 Highland Boulevard near Woods of Arden Road. Interesting.
Yeah. So that'd be kind of cool to go see that house.
So then he gets married.
Yes, to Mary Cleveland Perkins Olmsted, the widow of his brother John.
Oh my God. And he pulled off that miraculous stunt on June 13th, 1859. This guy's a savage.
Yeah, so the widow of his brother John, who died in 1857. So 2 years later, he married his old sister-in-law at that point. What a weird world. So Daniel Fawcett Tiemann, John Mayer's in this. The mayor of New York officiated the wedding. He adopted her 3 children, which were his nephews and niece. And John Charles Olmsted was born in 1852. Charlotte Olmsted, who later married a Bryant, and Owen Olmsted. So those were the children's names.
We're not going to just pass over this like that's normal. The dude looked at his nieces and nephews and says, hey, basically call me your dad now. Like, I'm your daddy. What in the world is going on? And that's normal in 1852?
Hell yeah, it is. All right, so Frederick and Mary also had 2 children together who survived infancy. So not only did he adopt her original children with his brother, but they're like, we're going to pump out some more. So they had 2 more children that survived infancy. A daughter, Marion, and a son, Frederick Law Olmsted Jr., was born in 1870. Their first child, unfortunately, John Theodore Olmsted, was born and died in infancy shortly after. So that sucks.
Yeah, well, this is still disgusting, so
I mean, at least it wasn't his actual sister. That'd be even worse. All right, so anyway, other careers that he had. Do you want to talk about journalism, Mike?
Yeah, well, in 1850, he traveled to England to visit public gardens, where he was greatly impressed by Joseph Paxton's Birkenhead Park. He subsequently wrote and published Walks and Talks of an American Farmer in England in 1852. this supported his getting additional work. This was basically his resume. Yeah. So he visits the park that inspired his later contribution to the design of Central Park in New York City. So because of my mumbling, basically when he went to London, England, he got inspired, came home, and then built Central Park because of that visit. So he was interested in the slave economy. He was commissioned by the New York Daily Times, which is now the New York Times, to embark on an extensive research journey through the American South in Texas from 1852 to 1857.
To me, that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Like he was designing parks, and then he came back, and he's like, you know what? I would really like to tackle this slave issue we have.
Well, I was going to make an awful joke about how he just stole his brother. Yeah, whatever. So anyways, he's quoted by saying, "My own observation of the real condition of the people of our slave states gave me an impression that the cotton monopoly in some way did more harm than good. And although the written narration of what I saw was not intended to sell this forth, upon reviewing it for the present publication, I find the impression has become a conviction." So his opinion became a conviction / fact in his brain, which I think we all understand that slavery is a no-go.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's dive into the parks.
Yeah. So he, like we said, he really got his claim to fame with the New York Central Park. It was interesting, and I don't remember if I covered this in a later bullet point, but there was basically a competition back then of everybody submit your pieces for the design of the Central Park.
Yep.
And Olmsted and his partner they won the competition because of their use of like roadways and underground roadways and like different variations in like topography and stuff like that. So that's why they ended up winning the bid, is just because of their very like intricate design and how it wasn't as symmetrical as everybody else's. Because if you look at a park, especially in Central Park, a lot of the original designs were symmetrical, which isn't, I mean, to each their own, but theirs was one of the only ones that was asymmetrical, and it wasn't really like as pleasing to the eye, I guess, from above. So after designing Central Park and Prospect Park, partner Calvert Vaux was invited to Buffalo to design a park here. So the reason that Olmsted was brought here in the first place was because after the design of Central Park and Prospect Park, his partner was invited to Buffalo to design one of the parks here. So that's how we got over here. All right, Mike, handle the leader in the sanitation commission.
So in 1861, the boy took leave as director of Central Park to work in Washington, D.C. as Executive Secretary of the U.S. Sanitary Commission, a precursor to the Red Cross. He tended to the wounded during the American Civil War instead of serving himself. Anyways, in 1862, during Union General George B.
McClellan.
Nailed it. McClellan's
Peninsula?
Yeah, Peninsula Campaign. Olmsted headed the medical effort for the sick and wounded at the White House Plantation in New Kent County, which had a boat landing on the Pamunkey River. Crushed it.
You're struggling today.
I told you I was tired. Olmsted worked tirelessly for the Sanitary Commission to the point of exhaustion. Part of the problem was his need to maintain control over all aspects of the commission's work. He then refused to delegate, and he had an appetite for authority and power.
Which I feel like I can relate.
Go figure.
I don't like delegating anything. So this dude...
Sounds like a you problem. Delegation's the key to life, dude.
Well, I know, but like, same with him. Is he basically ran himself into the ground at the sanitation department.
Yeah, his buddy in January 1863 wrote, Olmsted's an unhappy, sick, sore mental state.
He's in an unhappy, yeah.
Yeah, so, I'm sorry, yep. He's in a unhappy, sick, sore mental state. He works like a dog all day and sits up nearly all night. Works with steady, feverish intensity till 4 a.m, sleeps on a sofa in his clothes, and eats breakfast that basically consists of strong coffee and pickles. Christ. His overwork and lack of sleep led to his being in a perpetual state of... So he was irritable, which wore on the people with whom he worked. Exhausted, ill, and having lost the support of the men who put him in charge, Olmsted resigned on the 1st of September in 1863, yet within a month, he was on his way to California, where he oversaw a newly established gold mining estate.
So, I thought that this was super interesting just based off of the amount of different experiences he had.
Because he wouldn't stop.
Yeah, he was in England working on that park. He came back here to work on other parks, and then he decided to do journalism, where he covered a variety of topics, including the slave issue.
Yep.
And then after that, he's like, you know what I want to do? I want to go work in the sanitary department. Okay. And then after that, after he was done, he's like, you know what? The sanitary department was a huge precursor to me going into the gold mining industry in California.
Right.
This dude was crazy. So he went to California. It was a very short stint because it was actually unsuccessful. Probably because he was a journalist and trying to go over there and manage a gold mining estate. But anyway, after he came back from California, he designed the Prospect Park, Chicago's Riverside Parks, the park systems for Buffalo, which we talked about, Milwaukee's Grand Necklace of Parks, and then the Niagara Reservation. So the public parks and pathway systems of Buffalo, New York was originally designed by Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux between 1868 and 1896. It was inspired in large part by the Parkland, Boulevard, and squares of Paris, France, including the parkways and circles within the the parks and parkways and circles within the Cazenovia Park, South Park system, and the Delaware Park Front Park system, both listed on the National Register of Historic Places and maintained by the Buffalo Olmsted Parks Conservancy. Sure. So some other parks that are within that conservancy include Bennett Park, Kaz Park, Days Park, Delaware Front, Humboldt/MLK, Maston, Riverside, South Park, and the Terrace. And it also includes 9 parkways, 8 circles, the Botanical Gardens, and Tift Nature Preserve. So all of that is credited under the Buffalo Olmsted Park Conservancy, which was started by Frederick Law Olmsted himself.
So basically, if you go anywhere in Buffalo, then you're probably standing in a park that was made by him.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yep.
So he kind of had a big deal in the area.
Yeah, and I guess he doesn't care about family morals, but he's just living his life.
What's interesting, though, is he never, I couldn't find any information of him living here.
Well, he must have if he was designing everything. It's not an overnight thing.
Well, yeah, but he could have also done that remote.
Maybe not. How could you?
Attach the blueprints to a carrier pigeon and have them fly to Buffalo.
Yeah, basically. And, it's not... What do they do? Send a topographic map? I don't even know if they had those. They just had Lewis and Clark basic topographic maps. You know what I mean? What? He must have been here. Yeah. I don't know where the hell he stayed, but they must have.
Yeah, so, that was kind of my point, is I couldn't find where he would stay, and I would think that being such a prominent figure in the area, they would have that be a landmark of some sort. But I don't know if there's an Olmsted house here.
I don't know. Good question for the Googles.
Hey, Alexa. Just kidding, Russia.
We should just hire someone named Alexa, and she can just Google everything for us.
Dude, you want to?
Hey, Alexa, let's not. Let's become debt free, and then we'll go from there.
She'll be here Wednesday.
Oh my god, it's like a mail order bride. Jeez, she'll be here Wednesday. We're fried.
It's my brother's ex-wife. What?
Yeah, how'd your brother die? Don't worry about it. I married his wife though. Didn't want her to be lonely. Took over my nieces and nephews and pumped out 3 more kids. 1 died. How you doing?
So, the rebirth of Buffalo architecture treasure, one of Buffalo's most iconic buildings and a National Historic Landmark, the 145-year-old Richardson Olmsted campus, is being renewed after years of neglect. Designed by great American architect Henry Hobson Richardson and the famed landscape architect team of Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux, the building incorporated a system of enlightenment. This isn't his house. I don't know if he had a house here, dude. Since 2006, the nonprofit.
He probably just stayed in a hotel for free.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Or his brother's wife's house.
Yeah, probably just stayed in his brother's house. Probably slept in the same bed, too. Didn't even change the sheets.
I knew that would get a reaction out of you, so I was super excited to include that.
Goodness.
But yeah, so that is Frederick Law Olmsted, episode 2 out of our segment miniseries.
There it is. So this is episode 66. We're wrapping it up. It's pretty exciting. Next up, we got the Knox family. We'll dive into them.
Yeah.
They're a prominent family in regards to the town of East Aurora. So a lot of horses, things like that to discuss. Pretty cool. And yeah, we got to figure out what the hell we're going to drink, but I'm excited for it because we're going to have fun. But remember to make sure you guys are subscribed, enjoying yourself, and make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook if you're not already. Buffalo Happy Hour 12 and Buffalo Happy Hour. And Derek, take us out.
This has been episode 65.
66.
66 of the Buffalo Happy Hour. He already did the Instagram and Facebook plugs. We really appreciate everybody coming and joining us today. And we'll just see everybody next week on episode 67 of the Buffalo Happy Hour, Mike. Just remember, drink responsibly, be a good person, and Mike,
don't litter.